going on, everybody? You know who it is. This is Austin, and this is the Austin Smith Real Estate Podcast, where we talk about real estate and we talk about lifestyle. Today's guest is a very, very important guest. And the reason why he is a very important guest is because most of the time we talk about finding deals, finding the money, building the business. But today's guest is a very, very important piece to the whole investing process to begin with, and that deals with the renovation. Such a key point, such a key point. The renovation, working with contractors, running your analysis, how to not get screwed. No one wants to get screwed, but you've heard of the contractor nightmares. You've heard of the nightmare renovation projects where it sucks up all of the profit and now you're left with nothing. Let it be known that today's guest is here to solve those issues, so that way you don't run into that situation anymore. One less issue to worry about. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into today's show. If you haven't done so, definitely log on to austinsmithrealestate.com. Be sure to subscribe so you can get this sent straight to you right when it's released, as we keep sharing this sugar. And if you've benefited by listening to the podcast, please log on to iTunes, leave me a rating and review. Let's continue to share this message. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get into the show. What's going on, everybody? Today on the Austin Smith Real Estate Podcast, we have an awesome guest, and a big reason why I wanted to bring today's guest on is because, I've been reluctant to talk about the renovation process. Like I've been talking about finding deals, funding deals, building the business, money management, taxes, but none of that is basically possible without the most important, or I'd say the second most important part, which is the renovation phase. And today's guest, he's a project manager, real estate investor, public speaker, considers himself a real construction consultant. He's been in the business over 15 years. Lord knows how many deals and projects that he's worked on. But let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Danny Gonzalez. Danny, thank you for taking the time to come on the show today, brother.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it,
For sure, man. We'll jump right into this, as I always say. How did you get started? What, bring us before, the 15 years. What made you want to get into construction, working with your hands?
My dad always dabbled in construction for years. My uncle, it's kind of like a family thing. I started out, working, 18, 19 years old, started roofing, started siding. I kind of trying out all the trades till I realized, I'm like, you know what? It's something I'm interested in doing. And I just stuck with it. So, I started flipping back, as far back as, in 2000, 2001. Every once in a while, I wasn't calling myself a full-time flipper. I went back into GCing, and then, just not too long ago, within the last year, I actually started thinking and saying, you know what? Everybody always asks, it's hard to find a contractor. So I said, I started doing a lot of real estate seminars and started speaking. I want to teach somebody how to be their own contractor, how to be their own GC, because everybody keeps saying they get screwed by a contractor. And I mean, it's true. People get screwed, and it's not fair, and it makes every other contractor just look like everybody's going to, it's going to be a setup every time.
Right. So that and we'll actually get into that business model in a second. Where are you mainly, do you have projects all over? Are you only in a certain area? Where can, kind of people expect some of your projects going on?
All right. I'm based out of, all North Jersey, Upper Bergen County, Union County, Passaic County, basically North Jersey. Every once in a while, somebody will ask me, down Central Jersey, which is, an hour from where I'm located. I'm located right in East Rutherford by Giant Stadium. But even if I can't get out there or I can't do the job, I'll still try to find someone and recommend somebody that I've actually worked with or I actually subbed out work, so that way people won't get screwed, But I try to go, I try to go as far as I can.
Within due, understood. So let's talk about that, right? Because that is a major problem. Finding the right contractor or getting screwed over by a contractor, paying someone, they say that they're going to start the work, they don't start the work, whatever the case, just running into these issues. First things first, how does somebody find the right contractor? Because I've learned in this business that you can ask for a referral and still get screwed over. And this is so what are the steps to finding the right contractor?
Well, I'll tell you, even me, sometimes, I'm a general contractor, I consult. Every once in a while, I have to bring in a sub, somebody I can bring in to do the roofing. And let me tell you, even me, who I send out tons of work, we do tons of work, they still screw me too every once in a while, believe it or not. So it's just the nature of the business. But I learned, and I tell people all the time, the more money you have against them, the more leverage you have on them, the more work you're going to get done. So I tell everybody, I'm like, you're looking for a contractor, let's say, usually referrals, local referrals or a family member who used somebody. And even though you shoot the referral and they were great for me, they were awesome, they might not just click with the next homeowner or the next investor, and then you have your problems as well. So it's tough, it really is a tough business. It's just, you kind of got to play it by ear, and your gut plays a big issue in the game. You go with your gut feeling, you go with who you feel comfortable with, and you definitely make sure you check up on their work. You make sure you only pay them when you see work get done. Giving somebody 50% up front, and they're like, all right, I need 50%. What do you need 50% up front on if you haven't done an inch of work? Let them get a little work done and pay them in 4, 5, 6 payments, little by little. That's how you really catch yourself from getting screwed.
So I was going to ask about, you mentioned a very good point, maintaining leverage over, the contract and to make sure that work gets done. Do you have any other strategies that you use aside from, I know you just mentioned, not paying them all in front and kind of spreading it out. Do you have any other strategy or is that a pretty effective, go-to strategy?
I found it the most effective because I'll give you a quick example. So any contractor wants to take 5, 10, 20 jobs on at a time because obviously he's going to make the most money. So they figure they'll grab your money. I'll finish this job that I have for 2 weeks, and then I'll come back to your job, and in between they'll say, oh, well, I'll be there tomorrow. Oh, give me 2 more days. And all of a sudden they're stalling for 2 weeks. So they didn't lose the job from you, which kind of screws you. But my whole thing is this. If you, sit with the contractor, always write a contract. Get a copy of their insurance. Make sure, everybody, you don't need a large deposit. Like, this guy hasn't stepped in your house and done any work. He doesn't need a large deposit. Give him something light, and if he doesn't start working, immediately, or if he does not work at all, go to court and sue the guy. Because you know what? That's the only way we're going to stop these contractors from screwing up the business.
Now, what if somebody, what if a contractor says, hey, I need, 50%. If it's a relatively, the big jobs totally understand, like, $100,000 job, it's like, what do you need 50,000 for? So totally understand. For the smaller projects, what if the contractor is like, well, I need that in order to get the materials to start the work?
You know what I say a lot of times too? Like, you challenge them. You make it comfortable for you, and you make it comfortable for them. So let's just say a small roof repair. He goes, oh, listen, it's going to cost $1,000 with material and labor. You figure, $300-400 is for the material. You say, listen, how about I go with you to Home Depot or to whatever supply house you're going to go to? I'll pay for the material, and we'll deduct it from the bill. At least it's paid for. And then when you start working, I'll give you a deposit, and then when you finish, I'll give you another deposit. That way you still can control what money goes out. I mean, if you get a good guy, and let's say your mom or your dad use somebody, or your aunt or your sister, and he's highly recommended, you still want to be a little fluctuating with the money, but you give him a little more
right.
leanway, But it's just that it's hard to say, but it's kind of that gut feeling comes into play. You really got to feel the guy out, and you got to see their company. And usually, guys who are insured, licensed, like workman's comp, a line of risk, all that, and have been in the business for years. Usually, those are the good guys that don't screw you. When people try to go the other route, say, "Oh, I pick up a guy from Home Depot," or "This guy works by the hour or by the day," kind of got to watch yourself, because that guy has no ties to anything. He doesn't have a company. It's like your word versus his without a contract. So those are the things that'll kind of jam yourself up. You go I get it. Everybody wants to save money, and you want to go the cheaper route. But sometimes saving that $500-600 isn't worth it. You might get screwed in the end.
I've come to learn, and in perfect segue, because one of the challenges of an investor is to make the numbers work. And sometimes, obviously there's 2 points where that can happen. The price and then the renovation budget. There's really not much more that you can do to kind of make the deal sweeter. So in those cases where the purchase price is, there's no flexibility on the purchase price, and the renovation is the only thing that can be toggled, what are some ways that you can save on your renovation budget, but obviously not avoid the cheaply done work? Is there, are contractors expecting you to negotiate the repair, the renovation budget with them, or are they, dead serious that that's going to be it?
Well, a lot of the times it depends on the time of year, the weather, the temperature, how busy, how slow they are. If you get a roofer towards October, and let's say he calls it a $3,500 price, that guy might go down to $2,200, $2,300, $2,400, because he might need the work. And he's like, hey, listen, I got to pay my guys anyway, so let's do the deal. So you catch that guy in the middle of the summer where he has 10 jobs, and you're just another job that, he doesn't really need right now. That price is not going down. It's supply and demand basically with the contractors. But I tell people a lot of times, let's say I'm not saying you, but someone that, for example, is a new investor. They say, all right, I want to start getting into the real estate. I want to buy and sell. I want to keep and hold. I tell people, I'm like, you know what? In the beginning, you have to put in work. Let's say you get in there and you demolition the entire house. You're saving yourself $6-7 grand, by doing the work yourself. Things that you can do yourself, do them. If you demo the house and you know what you're doing, demo the house. If you know how to clean up the outside or clean out the trash or run to the store to make deliveries, anything that can take work off the contractor that you can save some money and he's okay with it, I say, hey, go for it, And you figure once you're not worried about budget as much anymore because you do a couple houses a year, and just say, hey, here's the key, call me when it's done, you sell the house and keep it moving, I say go ahead. But in the beginning, I always tell people, you want to know what you're getting into. So you want to understand real estate, you want to understand construction, you want to understand the budget, you want to know what material is going in the house.
That's interesting, because I was going to ask, what are if you have any idea, what are some other things that people, what are some basic, DIY stuff? Like, for example, I've started, just painting myself to eliminate, some big costs as I come to find out. And, I always say that I want to learn how to do sheetrock and flooring. Haven't yet, but, what are those small things that people can do to kind of lessen the cost there?
Yeah. Well, painting, like you said, you started painting yourself. I'm pretty sure you saved yourself $5-6 grand,
Right.
for painting an entire house. Now, anybody can paint. You just have to have the patience. Well, you have to have the patience to tape everything up correctly, roll it the correct way. Demolition is another place you can save on. You order your own dumpster or containers. You can demolition the house. Another way to save it, well, when you demo, let's say you're ripping out all the old copper, the electrical, the cast iron, the steel, take it to the scrapyard yourself. I remember I did a house, man, going back 12 years ago. It was my own personal house. I was going to live there, and I gutted the entire house, took all the aluminum siding, took the copper. I must have made about $1,800. I guess that's when the market was a lot higher. But I made $1,800 on all the scrap metal.
Mm.
And, that budget rolled right over and took care of either a roof or part of the siding or, the finished electrics. There's a bunch of different ways. The outside landscaping, if you're flipping the house, you can take care of the landscaping yourself. Let's say flooring. It's tough, ceramic tile, wood floor. But, sheetrock and spackle I don't recommend. That's like a fine art. We always sub out a sheetrock company because these guys come in, 5-10 guys, get it done in 2-3 days, and that's the finished touch. So you don't kind of want to start out and start, practicing on a finished product,
Right. One thing, for the most part at least, and let's give this hypothetical scenario for people to get an idea if they know that they're getting, screwed or not, at least on some of the things that are commonly renovated. I won't go into, tiling and well, actually, no. We'll touch on tiling. We'll touch on tiling, kitchen, and the bathroom. Those are usually like the main things that are renovated. So we'll take a 10 by 10 room, a nice 10 by 10 square 100 square foot room, and if we're looking to have that tiled or flooring, obviously the flooring parts wise or material wise will just cost per square foot. You can look that up yourself. However, what's a fair going acceptable rate for someone who just wanted to do a 10 by 10 square foot room, either tiling or floor? Well, I realize actually tiling is a lot probably more hands on than flooring, but go ahead.
Okay, so you want to use a bathroom as an example, or just like a bedroom, or?
So here's what we'll do. We'll do a bedroom using like either vinyl or hardwood floor, whatever the case, and then we'll use the bathroom for a tile.
Okay, so let's just say we have a 10 by 10 room that has carpet and plywood under. Let's just say we'll rip out the carpet, and you're gonna put a 10 by 10, 100 square feet. Let's say we'll go with like an engineered hardwood floor, like a pergo. You figure they're about anywhere from $1.05 to $2.25 a square foot. So you'll be looking about $159, let's say, for the flooring. If you're at $159 a square foot, you have the underlayment rolls, which you need a couple rolls, probably be about $25 each, and then a decent price to throw. Now, there's two things. Now, decent price to throw down, if you had a certain amount of square footage, somebody will charge you anywhere from $1 to $1.50 a square foot to install. But when you have a smaller job, there's really no room for profit, so they'll charge you a little bit more. Let's say it's one room. I'd say somebody will come in and maybe charge you like a flat rate of $250, $300. Well, let's just say you had 2, 3, or 4 of them. You're only paying like $1.25 a square foot now. That's for the pergo flooring, for the engineered hardwood floor.
Gotcha.
Now, let's just say we use the bathroom, for example. Let's just say a new bathroom was up and they have to tile the floor and tile inside the shower. Usually the shower, the bathtub's about 5 feet, the width is about 3 feet. So you're about 40, 50 square feet on the wall, and you're usually about 30, 35 square. So almost about 100. Let's round it off to 100 square feet. Now, tile's a little more different because you start out with tile, you have to put wonder board on the floor, which is a cement board. You have to put a cement board on the walls. You have thin set, which is like a mortar mix for the floor. You have, another for the wall, and then you have your tile. Tile is a lot more time. You have to use, you have a tile cutter, you have a wet saw, sometimes a diamond blade. So, let's say a price like that, anywhere from, $3 to $5 a square foot, depending on how great the guy is. Because you have some people that won't budget on their price, and then you have some people, they'll come down on their price. But overall, let's say tile, let's just say a decent tile, wonder board and everything. Then you have the grout, and then you have the sealer. It would be about, in labor, 350, 450 for a bathroom.
Awesome. And and just for the people and math, when we're talking numbers like 9 by 9, 10 by 10, we're just talking about feet and 10 feet by 10 feet. If we were looking at a perfectly square room, 10 feet by 10 feet. You multiply the length and the width together in order to get the square footage, which is the, obviously which you are factoring into your numbers, and it gives you an idea on, space covered for the labor that's being charged. Okay, so we'll finish off with the kitchen, and we'll just, instead of the tile and everything like that, let's say we're looking at an extremely distressed property. And we need to do a full gut. Like we need to do, the walls over, the cabinets over, new fridge, new stove, top, backsplash. We'll even do a backsplash, new sink, stuff like that. Let's just take a regular, we'll say a 12 by 12. We'll do another 10 by 10. No, that's pretty small. We'll do 14 by 14?
14.
Yeah.
10 by 14, 10 by 14 kitchen.
Yeah, so we'll do that. Complete gut, everything, and it doesn't have to be spot on, but just giving us an idea so that way, if the contractor, if you're saying, okay, it's going to cost $10,000 roughly, plus or minus $1,000, if our contractor's coming in at 15, we know that we probably are getting screwed. So, give us an idea.
Gotcha. And you see those advertisements all the time, 10 by 10 kitchen, 2,000 or $29.99. Now it all depends. Like, let's say flip a rental. Let's say 10 by 14. Obviously, the floor 10 times 14, 140 square feet. So we're already basically on the tile. We're looking anywhere from $1 to $2 a square foot. So plus the wonder board. Let's just say for the tile, for the cement, for the wonder board, the grout, everything for a kitchen floor at 140 square feet, you're looking about, and all the materials, anywhere from like 9 to 1,200, on the floor. Depending, more or less, you can go cheaper, you can go more expensive. We know tile ranges anywhere from 99 cents all the way to $5 a square foot.
Right.
So, but average price, 600 to 1,200, let's say, 1,200 being more the higher end.
Cool.
Kitchen cabinets, depending, once again, you go oak, you have cherry wood, you have shaker cabinets, you have different brands, you have cabinetry, you have you have Thomasville, then you have, brands that guys bring in directly from China, which which I recommend as well. Babblewood, Forever Mark. They're just a Chinese brand, but they're the same exact cabinet with a different stamp name. You could do a 10 by 14 kitchen, a nice brand, something that looks higher end, shaker style cabinet. About 2,400 just for the cabinet. Then remember, you have to go either granite quartz or Formica. We'll just say you got about 50 square feet. You're looking about maybe $900 to $1,000 on some nice granite. You have to get your hardware, your handles for the doors and the drawers. Depending on what you get as well, you probably spend maybe $150. You have your sink. Depending on what faucet, you have faucets that go from $50 all the way to $200-300. Your sink is usually included when you purchase the granite. The company will throw in the sink for free. And
interesting. I didn't know that.
That's it. I'm sorry.
I said it's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Anything after about 30 square feet on the countertop, which 30 square feet is easy to match, unless you have the smallest kitchen in the world.
Right.
A couple places that they throw in the sink and it's included. If you want to get an extra large sink, you'll pay like $50 more. But usually the standard style sink is a decent sized sink. Other than that, then you have your appliances. Depending, same thing. You can go with GE. You can have a stove, microwave, a refrigerator, and let's say a dishwasher. You can get everything decent brand like a GE, $2,300, all the way you can up to like high end brands like Electrolux, and where you can spend $5,000-6,000. So it's all
it's all relative, right? It all depends on what you're doing. And then what
My favorite thing is when people. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
My favorite thing is when people say, "Hey, I have a house at 1,200 feet. Can you give me a price to do everything?" And I'm like, "Well, I need to know, it's the price on material, what material you're looking to use. Is it a full gut? Is it not? Oh, just give me a price." And sometimes, I'll try, but then it kind of you kick yourself in the butt because you might estimating that they're gonna keep it as a rental, and then it's a higher end flip, and you give somebody a number and their budget is off by $3,000-4,000. You don't want to harm anybody like that.
Right.
So it's always better to go see it. I told somebody, I'm like, listen, send me a video, send me a picture, send me something. Let me look at something before I give you an estimate or just a roundabout number. Because budget is everything. Budget in construction is everything. It can make or break your deal. For sure.
Okay, so. Before we just start our descent, just, I'd say about 2 more questions. The managing the project, what are some of the do's and the don'ts of the renovations phase? And we'll split it up to like if you're managing the property in state, like if it's right around the corner, and then we're also talking about for my investors that, invest out of state, whether the do's and don'ts of managing the property or managing the project, I should say.
Gotcha. Well, we'll start with the out of state, and it's kind of tough because you really have to have somebody. Let's just say I have property in Virginia and I'm building homes in Virginia. Unless I have somebody that's really reliable and a contractor, or even someone who works for you down there, a family member or a friend that can pop in once a day and take a look, you might never know what's going on. And that's the toughest thing. I tell people, if you don't have the resources and you don't have the money to toss around, I definitely stay out of state unless you're able to fly back and forth and, you're on that level.
What do you think about, I had one guest that came onto the podcast, and he uses cameras, and I guess when you combine that with like your contract, and it's like, hey, you mentioned that, we were going to get this done this week. You said you were going to start work at, 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. And judging by, from the looks of it, you're showing up at 10:30. Would you recommend cameras, or do you feel like that would make, contractors feel uneasy?
You know what? I had a friend of mine. He did an addition. He did an entire renovation, a full gut on a flip, and he had cameras. And he told me, "Oh, I have cameras to make sure what time guys show up." But he literally had cameras in the front of the house, the back of the house, the side of the house, first floor, second floor, basement. And you know what? That's how he ran the job. He ran the job through those cameras. They were voice transition too. He was able to speak to them. He was able to see them in the camera. He was back and forth communication. And people would tell him the thing, he would say, "Well, this guy didn't show up yet." He would call him, "Hey, you're not at the house yet. Oh, I'll be there in a few." Or, "Hey, you said you were almost done." So that's not a bad idea. I forgot about that. And that's actually a good way to set it up. Because, a guy says, "Oh, yeah, well, he knows you live in Jersey and you're he's in Virginia, and you have no way to know if he was there." "Oh, yeah, I finished everything today.
Right.
We have inspection tomorrow, and this guy didn't even do anything." And he's like, "He's not here anyway. I'll see him next week."
Right.
So you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. And with the camera systems now, there's wireless camera systems, there's Wi-Fi camera systems. It's not even expensive anymore. I would recommend it. I would say that's a good way to check on the work. And FaceTime is a big thing too.
Right.
Guys can FaceTime you to see what work they got done. Instead of just pictures that, I'm at the house where, okay, FaceTime me, show me what you did, so I can send you a draw or a payment.
Yeah, they'll be more responsive with that, that's for sure. And I'm pretty sure, managing the project in state is, obviously it's a lot easier. Here's a better question than that. Flipping. Now, some people, there's a small ideology that, since people are doing the work, obviously if you're not doing the work, there's some type of, time versus money benefit, meaning you don't always have to be on the job. You don't always have to, you're just responsible for making the deal happen. Would you say that that's true? So someone can literally, flip 4 homes a year, make $25,000 on each, and, work, 3 hours a day. Is that possible, or is it better to show up, especially when the property's in state? Is it better to show up every day to the property, be active in the property, making sure that, I don't want to say cracking the whip, but,
No, of course.
Yeah, so what would you say?
I say it like this. When you have unsupervised children, you don't know what they're doing. I say it the same way as a contractor as I refer to children. When you have unsupervised children in a house all day long by themselves, something's going wrong and something's not getting done right. So if you have the flexibility to pop in every day on that job, I'm not saying sit there, be behind the guy's shoulders, in their phone calls or constantly saying, "Hey, what's next? But if they know you pop in every day, and I wouldn't pop in the same time of day, but if you pop in every day for an hour or two, asking questions, checking what's going on, seeing what they need, you're more likely your project is going to run a lot more smoother than someone who never shows up. It's like your teacher. If your teacher never checked your homework, I always use these examples because people understand them better when you're talking real estate or when if your teacher never checks your homework and you know that, there's a couple of days that you might not even do it, or you might, go the sloppy route, or when you're in that house and those contractors know you're there and they know you're an active investor, there's nothing that they're going to try to pull past you, and the most important thing, like I said, if you're purchasing the material or they're purchasing the material, whatever it is, you want to make sure that your material stays on site because you did pay for that. So when they're done with the work, it's not theirs to take it along, or that people order extra material. Or that's that's a problem we have all the time. A lot of people try to order extra material, return it. They say, oh, I need a little bit more and use it for another job. So my recommendation is if you are a new investor or just an investor at all, be there at the job site. Make sure.
Awesome, man. That's definitely gold, and makes me want to kind of implement that into the business. So, easy last question before the core four as we start our descent here. What is your favorite strategy for finding real estate deals to invest in?
Well, my favorite strategy, and I'm old school, and I believe to have relationships with a bunch of different realtors, attorneys, investors, other contractors, homeowners. I mean, as you know, you're involved heavily in the real estate, and it's so hard to get a deal nowadays because everybody wants to be into real estate. You have all the seminars, you have TV shows. Everybody's an investor. Everybody's flipping or buying homes. That you can't find anything on the market anymore, and you wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't have 50-50 offers.
Right.
So my thing is, keep the word out there. Let everybody know you're actively looking, even if you're not. But at least they'll bring a deal to you, and let's just say you can't, take the deal on right now. I'm pretty sure you could send it off to somebody else and make some money too.
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly.
Off market deals are obviously, are always the best, especially if nobody else is targeting it. You're not going to get outbidded. And it's like, hey, I have this exclusive. Do you want it or not? I'll jump on to the next person. And you're not battling anybody. You're not overpaying. It's not overpriced. They're just looking to unload it and quietly and for a good price.
Awesome, man. This episode has been extremely helpful just with, making sure that the most important piece of, the entire, holding period goes smoothly. This episode so far has been extremely helpful, and I know the audience is getting a lot of gems from it. As we start the core four, which are the 4 questions that I ask each and every guest, we'll start it like this. What's your favorite aspect about real estate?
My favorite. Now, I'll be honest, everybody's in real estate for the money, but I do love and I really appreciate the work, and I take pride in it when you transform, let's just say, for example, a 1-story ranch, 1,000 square foot. You cut off the roof, you add an addition, you add a second level, and you build this beautiful custom colonial. Obviously, you're making a lot of money on it, but you get a nice family, and you build somebody's dream, and there's no better feeling than that. I'm in it for the money, but I truly love when I see a family come in and they put an offer and they close the deal and they move in and they're just excited that they found their dream home. I appreciate the work. I really do. And I hope a lot of other contractors, appreciate their work as well.
That's awesome, man. Question number 2. Favorite business or personal development book?
Favorite, I gotta go with Rich Dad Poor Dad.
The classic.
It's a classic. Everybody knows it. A lot of people don't read anymore. You have audiobooks, you have TV. So it's a book you can discuss with everybody because you figure if you didn't read that book, go read that book,
Question number 3. When you're not out building properties, when you're not out renovating properties, what are you doing in your spare time? What are the fun things you like to do in your spare time?
So when I'm not working, which is mostly during the week, I have 3 kids, and I take pride in my kids, my wife, my family. I'm a family man. So when I'm done working and everything I build, I tell everything I build and all the empires that we're building is all for my kids. So I tell everybody in my spare time is I'm with my family. You know, that's my pride and joy there.
Awesome, man. And last but not least, where can people find you at these days?
All right. So I have a couple different ways to get in touch with me. I have an office phone. I'll give, you know what, I'll just give everybody. So I have an office phone number, 201-340-2628. If I'm not in the office, I have a secretary every day from 8:30 to 5 to transfer you to my cell phone, or you can leave a message and I'll get back to everybody. Second way, DannyBuildsHomes@gmail.com, and my Instagram name at Danny Builds Homes. It's DannyBuildsHomes. Danny Builds Homes. I tell everybody, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, you DM me. I respond back to every single person. I might be a day or so, late, but anybody needs any help, anybody has any questions, concerns about anything on their property, I have no problem. I don't charge anybody for any questions. You can DM me, and I always DM you back, and I will answer your questions, whatever I can do to help. I actually enjoy helping people.
Awesome, man. Yeah, Danny, thank you so much for taking the time to come on today's show. Definitely a lot of actionable steps on managing contractors and doing what you have to do so your project doesn't go south, so you could bring out more profit than problems. Danny, thank you so much for all those gems, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed, and any other time you need me back on, or people have questions, or listen, contact me. I think what you're doing is a great thing. Hopefully when we're done with this podcast, people, we can share it with others. Anybody have any questions or concerns, like I said, always DM me, call me, email me, and I'll get back to them. But thank you. I really appreciate you having me on the show. I set my time aside, and it was fun. I say let's do it again one day.
I appreciate you, man. Hopefully we can do some business in the very near future.
All right, absolutely.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.